The forest was quiet that night, the air cool, the sky wide and full of stars, and the sound of water moved gently through the trees. A narrow lake lay hidden in the dark woods, its surface shining under the moonlight. The water was strange, almost glowing, as if some secret lived deep inside it. A traveler walked slowly near the lake. He was tired, his shoes dirty with dust and his bag heavy on his shoulder. He had taken a wrong turn in the woods and now searched for a way back to the road. But instead of a path, he found something no human had ever expected to see. From behind the trees, he heard a sudden splash. At first, he thought it was a deer, maybe an animal running from the water, but then he froze, his breath stuck in his chest. A voice came, a woman's voice, clear, sharp, and frightened. "They stole my clothes," she cried. The words echoed across the water, strange and powerful, but still human enough to understand. The traveler stepped closer, hiding behind a tree, and there in the lake he saw her. A woman stood half hidden in the glowing water, her arms covering herself, her face pale but shining in the moonlight. Her hair floated around her like black silk, and her eyes were not human. They were bright, like stars trapped in glass, silver and blue, glowing softly as she stared at him. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. A lost wanderer in the forest now seeing visions. But no, she was real. The water moved around her body and the fear in her voice was sharp and alive. "Human, please help me," she whispered, her voice breaking. The traveler's skin turned cold. She had called him human. Why would a woman call him that unless she was not one herself? His heart beat fast, but his legs moved forward without thinking. He stepped from the trees, his shadow falling across the water. She gasped, moving deeper into the lake, but her glowing eyes did not leave his face. "They stole my clothes," she repeated, her voice trembling. "And without them, I cannot survive." The traveler looked around the forest, trying to see who they were. The trees stood silent, but the air felt heavy, as if unseen eyes watched. He turned back to her. "Who stole them?" he asked, his voice low. The woman's face twisted with fear. "Hunters," she said. "They are near. They want me captured. They want me dead, please. You must hide me or I will not live." Her words cut through the night like sharp blades. The traveler wanted to step back, to run, to escape the strange nightmare. But something in her eyes stopped him. Something more than fear. Something human, yet not human. He saw her skin again, pale but faintly glowing as if light moved under her flesh. She was not from here. She was not of this earth. He understood now. An alien. The thought made his knees weak, but before he could speak, he heard movement in the trees. Branches cracked. Footsteps pressed against dry leaves. Laughter echoed faintly in the dark. The woman gasped and moved deeper into the lake, only her head above water now. Her glowing eyes locked on him, desperate. "They come," she whispered. "Please help me." The traveler looked at the trees, then back at her. His heart raced. He had no weapon, no plan, and no idea what danger was about to step out of the shadows. But he knew one thing. The woman in the lake was in trouble, and he was the only one there. The sound of voices grew clearer. Strange words, half human and half machine, floated through the trees. And then he saw them. Figures moved in the dark. 3 of them. Tall, covered in strange metal armor that shimmered under the moonlight. Their faces were hidden by masks glowing with red lines. Each carried long weapons that looked sharp and alive, almost breathing with energy. The traveler froze. These were the hunters. And they were not human either. One of the armored figures held something in his hand, shaking it with cruel laughter. The traveler squinted. His chest tightened. It looked like a piece of clothing, but not normal. It glowed faintly, like liquid metal shaped into fabric. The woman's clothes. The hunters stepped closer to the lake, their eyes searching the water. The traveler knew the alien woman could not stay hidden forever. He looked at her, her shining eyes pleading from the water, and then back at the hunters, whose footsteps grew louder. A choice rose before him. Run and save himself, or stand and help the alien who begged for his aid. The forest fell silent. The only sound was the slow breath of the traveler and the sharp echo of armored boots on soil. The night of the lake had become something else, a night of first contact, a night where one human would face the unknown. And somewhere, deep in the glowing water, the story of survival had only just begun. The night was heavy with silence. The traveler stood frozen at the edge of the glowing lake, his heart beating fast. his eyes moving between the strange alien woman in the water and the armored hunters creeping through the forest. The hunters whispered to each other in low, broken voices. Their helmets glowed with red lines and their weapons hummed softly, alive with strange power. They were close, too close, and the traveler knew they would find her if nothing was done. The alien woman's glowing eyes stayed fixed on him, wide with fear. She whispered again, her voice shaking. "Human, please, do not let them take me." Her words pulled at him. She looked fragile now, weak, almost trembling as she sank deeper into the glowing water. He could see her arms shaking, her lips pale. It was as if the lake itself was giving her strength, and without her strange clothes she could not stand for long. The traveler swallowed hard. He wanted to run, but his legs stayed still. Something about her desperation felt real. Something about her voice made him feel chosen. The hunters drew closer, their boots crushing the forest floor. One of them sniffed the air through the strange mask and growled. Another laughed and raised the stolen glowing clothes in the air. "She cannot go far without these," the hunter said in a harsh, twisted voice. "She will beg us soon." The alien woman closed her eyes in pain. The sound of their words was like poison to her. She whispered, almost too soft to hear, "That is not just clothing, it is my life." The traveler leaned forward, whispering back quickly, "What do you mean?" Her eyes opened again, glowing brighter as tears mixed with the water on her cheeks. "My body cannot live long in your air. The suit protects me, it heals me, it hides me. Without it I am weak. Soon, I will die." The traveler's chest tightened. He looked at her fragile body trembling in the water, then at the hunters laughing cruelly, waving her suit like a trophy. He felt anger rise inside him. He turned back to her. "Why me? Why ask me?" Her lips trembled. "Because you are human. Because only a human can move unseen in this forest. They will not suspect you yet. Please, I beg you. Help me hide. Help me survive." The traveler's head spun. This was madness. Only an hour ago, he was just a man lost in the woods. Now an alien woman was asking for his help. Hunters from the stars were chasing her, and her life was hanging on a single choice. The hunters stepped closer. Their red eyes scanned the lake. One pointed his weapon at the water, the humming sound growing louder. The traveler's instinct screamed. If he waited longer, they would find her. He turned quickly, crouched low, and picked up a rock from the ground. His hands trembled, but his mind was sharp now. With a sudden throw, he hurled the rock far into the trees behind the hunters. The stone crashed against branches, echoing through the night. The hunters snapped their heads toward the sound. "There!" one shouted, raising his weapon. Two of them rushed into the trees, their boots pounding against the earth. The traveler ran forward quickly and crouched near the lake. "Now," he whispered sharply. "Move quietly."
"Follow me!"
The alien woman gasped, her eyes wide, but she obeyed. She moved through the water toward the shore, her steps weak, her body shivering as the cool air touched her skin. The traveler pulled off his jacket and threw it around her shoulders. She clutched it tightly, the fabric too large but warm. For a moment, her glowing eyes softened, almost thankful. But then the third hunter turned back. He had not followed the others. He stood at the edge of the lake, scanning the trees, his glowing red mask turning slowly. The traveler grabbed the alien woman's hand, whispering quickly, "Stay low. Do not make a sound." Her hand was cold, but she held on tightly. They crawled into the thick brush, moving slowly as the hunter stepped closer to the lake. The traveler's heart pounded. Every branch under his hand felt too loud, every breath too heavy. The alien woman's glowing skin dimmed slightly, as if she was trying to hide her light. The hunter growled, his weapon humming louder. For a moment it seemed he would fire into the water, but then a shout came from the forest. "Tracks!" She went this way. The hunter turned and rushed toward the voice, vanishing into the dark trees. The traveler let out a breath he did not know he was holding. He looked at the alien woman, still holding his hand, her body trembling under his jacket. "You saved me," she whispered softly, her voice almost breaking. He shook his head. "No, I only bought us time. They'll be back. We need to move." Her glowing eyes locked on his, filled with something strange. Trust, hope, fear. For the first time, she spoke her name. It was soft, musical, and not human. The sound made the air tremble slightly, as if the stars themselves answered. "I am Leora," she said. "Last of my kind." The traveler stared at her, his breath caught. Last of her kind? What did that mean? The forest shifted around them, and far away the hunters' voices grew louder again. The night was not safe. The danger was only beginning, but one thing was clear. The traveler and Leora were now bound together, and neither could survive alone. The first contact had been made, and the war for survival had already begun. The forest did not rest. Every branch, every shadow, every gust of wind seemed alive with danger. The traveler led Leora through the thick trees, her cold hand still gripping his, her steps uneven as she struggled without her strange alien suit. His jacket covered her shoulders, but it was not enough. She was weak, fragile, and every breath she took came with pain. Behind them, the hunters' voices echoed through the dark. Metal boots struck the ground. Weapons hummed. Laughter carried like knives across the night air. "They cannot escape us," one shouted. "They are close," another answered, his voice half human, half machine. Leora stumbled, and the traveler quickly caught her. She leaned against him, her glowing eyes dim. "I cannot move fast," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Without the suit, I'm breaking inside." He tightened his grip, guiding her forward. "Then we'll move smarter, not faster." But even as he said the words, fear filled his chest. How could a simple man outrun hunters from the stars? He had no weapon, no armor, no plan. Only instinct, only courage. A sudden beam of red light swept across the trees. The hunters were scanning, searching. The traveler pulled Leora down into the dirt, covering her body with his, holding his breath. The red light passed inches away. The hunters laughed again. "She is near. We smell her fear." Leora closed her eyes, her body trembling. Her voice was faint, almost a whisper. "They do not only hunt me," she said. "They hunt you too, humans. You are. Pray to them." The traveler's chest tightened. He looked at her glowing face, pale with exhaustion, and felt a sharp spark of anger. Pray? No. He would not let them think that. When the hunters' lights moved deeper into the woods, the traveler pulled Leora to her feet again. They moved quickly, crawling under fallen logs, slipping between rocks, stepping over roots in silence. But the hunters were fast. Too fast. Soon the forest around them filled with red beams, moving closer and closer. The traveler's mind raced. He needed a distraction, something to draw the hunters away. His eyes caught a fallen branch, thick and heavy. He picked it up, gripping it tightly, his hands shaking but determined. Leora's glowing eyes widened. "You cannot fight them," she whispered. "Maybe not," he said, "but I can slow them." Before she could protest, the traveler moved forward. He crouched behind a tree, waiting. The sound of metal boots grew louder. The hunters stepped through the shadows, their glowing masks scanning the ground. The traveler's breath slowed. His heart pounded. When the first hunter passed close, he swung the branch with all his strength. The wood cracked against the metal helmet. The hunter stumbled, his weapon falling to the ground with a sharp hiss. "Sparks flew! Now, Leora!" the traveler shouted. She gasped, her weak body moving quickly into the dark, while the traveler grabbed the fallen weapon. It was heavy, buzzing with energy, strange symbols glowing along its side. He barely understood how to hold it, but he raised it anyway. The hunter roared, his mask glowing brighter. He lunged at the traveler, claws sliding from his armored gloves. The traveler pressed a button on the weapon, and a beam of white-blue energy shot out, striking the ground with a loud explosion. The blast threw the hunter back into the trees. The traveler stumbled from the shock, his arms burning from the weapon's power. The other hunters shouted, their voices furious. Red beams swept wildly across the trees. "Take him alive," one growled. The traveler dropped the weapon. It was too powerful, too dangerous for him to control. He rushed after Leora, who had fallen near a cluster of rocks, her body weak and pale. He pulled her up again, his voice firm. "Keep moving. Don't stop." Together they stumbled deeper into the forest, the sound of the hunters crashing behind them. Branches snapped, weapons hummed, and the red glow grew closer. Leora's voice shook as she spoke between heavy breaths. "They are not only after me. They want the suit. They know what it carries." The traveler frowned, his mind spinning. "It's just a suit, clothes. Why risk all this for that?" Her glowing eyes met his, fear and sorrow deep within them. "Not clothes, bioarmor. It holds my world's last codes. Power enough to command fleets, power enough to destroy." The traveler froze for a heartbeat, stunned by her words. But there was no time to think. The hunters were too close. The forest opened suddenly, leading them to a wide ravine. A broken bridge stretched across, old ropes swaying in the wind. The traveler looked down. The drop was deep, sharp rocks waiting at the bottom. But there was no choice. They're coming, he whispered. We cross. Leora shook her head, weak and trembling. The bridge will break. Then we hold it together, he said firmly. Behind them, the hunters appeared at the tree line, glowing masks burning red. Their laughter was loud and cruel. The traveler grabbed Leora's hand, leading her onto the broken bridge. The wood creaked, ropes strained, the abyss below pulling at their feet. The hunters stepped closer. Weapons raised, and the chase, more deadly than ever, had only just begun. The bridge creaked under their feet, ropes twisting in the cold wind, every step echoing above the deep ravine. The traveler held Leora's hand tightly, guiding her across the shaky boards. Her glowing eyes were weak now, her breath shallow, her fragile body trembling with each step. Behind them, the hunters laughed, their armored boots striking the ground, weapons glowing red. They moved closer to the bridge, their masks burning like fire in the darkness. The traveler pushed forward, fear and courage burning together inside him. Almost there, he whispered, urging Leora onward. Just a little more. They reached the far side, stumbling onto the dirt as the bridge groaned. At that moment, one of the hunters fired. A beam of red energy struck the old ropes, snapping them apart with a loud crack. The bridge collapsed, crashing into the abyss below. Dust rose from the rocks as the broken wood disappeared into the depths. The hunters cursed in anger, stuck on the other side. But their glowing eyes promised they would not give up. The traveler helped Leora sit against a tree, her body shaking. She clutched his jacket close, her skin pale, her lips dry. They will not stop, she whispered softly. Not until they have the armor. The traveler knelt beside her. His voice was sharp, demanding answers now. You said it's not just clothes. What is it? Why is it so important? Leora's glowing eyes met his. For a long moment she was silent, as if deciding whether to trust him. Then she spoke, her voice low, heavy with sorrow. My people created it. Bio-armor. It is not only protection, it is alive. The traveler frowned, confused. Alive, you mean like a machine? She shook her head weakly. More than a machine. It bonds with the body. It feels, it grows. It heals, it becomes part of us. Without it, we cannot survive long in strange worlds. She touched her chest with trembling fingers. My suit carries memory. Codes of my people. Our last defense. The hunters know this. If they wear it, if they unlock it, they will control power no human should ever see. The traveler's mind spun. This was not just about survival. This was about something far greater. A piece of living armor that carried secrets strong enough to control fleets, maybe even destroy planets. And now, it was in the hands of enemies. He looked at Leora, her glowing skin faint under the moonlight. Then we need to get it back. She gave a weak smile, but her eyes were filled with sadness. You cannot fight them. They are stronger, faster, crueler. I should not even ask you. The traveler shook his head firmly. You already did, and I already chose. For a moment, silence filled the forest. The sound of the hunters' distant voices echoed, moving along the ravine, searching for another way across. Time was short. Leora leaned her head back against the tree, closing her eyes. The armor has many forms. It can cloak me, hide me from sight. It can shield me from weapons. It can even heal my wounds. But broken into pieces, it is weak, and now they carry it, mocking me. Her voice cracked, pain in every word. Without it, I am only half alive. With it, I am whole. With it, I can fight. Without it, I am nothing. The traveler stared at her, feeling the weight of her words. She was last of her kind, the final bearer of a living armor that carried the history and power of an entire world. And yet here she was, sitting weak and helpless in a human forest, asking a lost traveler for help. He placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and firm. Then we find it. We get it back. Together. Her glowing eyes opened again, staring into his. For the first time, hope flickered there. But before she could answer, the sound of cracking branches filled the air. The traveler turned sharply. Shadows moved in the trees. The hunters had found a way across. Their glowing red masks appeared again, closer, hungrier, more determined. Leora gasped, pushing herself to her feet, though her body shook. They are coming. We cannot face them here. The traveler nodded quickly. Then we move. But this time we don't just run. We plan. They slipped through the trees, moving fast, hearts pounding. The hunter's laughter followed, cruel and sharp, echoing in the night. As they ran, the traveler's mind raced. The hunters carried the suit. That meant they would not destroy it. They wanted its power. That gave him an idea, a chance. Leora stumbled again and he caught her. Hold on, just a little more. Her glowing eyes met his. Why are you helping me? She whispered. He gave her a half smile even though fear still lived inside him. Because you asked. And because no one deserves to be hunted like this. Not even out here. For a moment her lips trembled, almost forming a smile. Then she turned her gaze forward, determination shining faintly in her tired eyes. The forest grew darker, the hunters' voices louder. The game of survival was no longer just running. Now it was a fight for the bioarmor, for secrets too dangerous to lose. And for the first time, the traveler felt something new rising inside him. Not just fear, not just courage, but fire. A fire that told him humans were not prey. Not tonight. The night grew colder as the traveler and Leora pushed through the forest. The trees thinned, the air opened, and soon the ground sloped downward toward a wide clearing at the forest's edge. Moonlight spread across the open space, silver and bright, lighting every stone and shadow. The traveler stopped, pulling Leora behind a fallen log. We can't keep running, he whispered. His chest heaved with breath, his hands shaking with both fear and adrenaline. If we don't fight back, they'll corner us. Leora leaned against the log, her glowing skin dim, her breath shallow. Her body was weak, but her eyes still burned with desperate determination. I cannot fight without the armor, she said softly. Not fully, but there may be a way. The traveler frowned. What way? She looked at him, her silver blue eyes bright in the dark. The armor is alive. Even apart, it still listens to me. If I get close to a piece, I can call it. I can awaken it. But I need time. He clenched his fists. Time was something they did not have. Already the sound of hunters' voices carried through the trees. Their metal boots struck the soil, their laughter sharp, cruel, and near. The traveler nodded firmly. Then I'll give you time. Leora stared at him surprised. You cannot face them alone. They will kill you. Maybe, he said, his jaw set. But maybe I can slow them enough for you to call the armor. Before she could argue, a red glow lit the tree line. The hunters had arrived. Their glowing masks burned like fire as they stepped into the clearing, weapons humming with deadly energy. The traveler's chest tightened, but he stood tall, gripping a thick branch he had taken from the ground. It was nothing compared to their weapons, but it was all he had. One of the hunters laughed when he saw him. The human thinks he can fight. Another lifted the glowing piece of armor, waving it like a trophy. She will come crawling for this. Leora gasped beside the log, her body trembling. She closed her eyes, her lips moving in silence. The faint glow under her skin flickered brighter, as if she was reaching out with something unseen. The traveler stepped forward, drawing the hunter's attention. His heart raced, but he forced himself to stay calm. You want me? Come and take me. The nearest hunter roared and charged, weapon raised. The traveler ducked low, swinging his branch with all his strength. The wood cracked against the hunter's helmet, staggering him. Sparks flew as the hunter stumbled back with a snarl. The second hunter raised his weapon to fire. The traveler dove behind a rock, the red beam blasting through the air, burning the ground where he had stood. The clearing shook with energy, light flashing in the dark. The traveler's breaths came fast and sharp. He could not win this fight with strength, but he could use his mind, his speed, his unpredictability. He grabbed a handful of dirt and threw it into the second hunter's glowing mask. The hunter roared, blinded, swiping wildly with his claws. The traveler darted to the side, grabbing a fallen stone and smashing it into the hunter's knee joint. The metal cracked with a sharp clang, and the hunter stumbled with a furious growl. Meanwhile, the first hunter recovered and lifted the stolen armor piece higher, mocking, You cannot stop us. The suit will be ours. But then something happened. The armor in his hands began to glow brighter, pulsing like a living heart. The hunter froze, staring at it in confusion. The glow grew stronger, vibrating with energy. Behind the log, Leora's eyes opened wide, blazing silver blue. She raised her trembling hands, whispering words in a language not human. The air around her shimmered. The armor piece tore itself free from the hunter's grip, flying through the air like a living creature. The hunter roared in rage, reaching for it, but it slipped away and shot toward Leora, wrapping itself around her arm in a flash of light. The forest shook as the bioarmor awakened, fusing with her skin. Glowing silver lines spread across her arm and shoulder, moving like veins of light. Leora gasped, her body shivering as strength flowed back into her. Her dim glow brightened, spreading through her body like fire returning to dying embers. The hunters stepped back, their laughter gone, replaced with anger. "She has reclaimed it," one growled. The traveler looked at her, stunned. For the first time, Leora stood tall, her body no longer weak, her eyes blazing with power. Even with only part of the armor, she looked like something unstoppable. But she was still trembling, still not whole. The rest of the armor remained with the hunters. The traveler ran to her side, his voice urgent.
"Can you fight?"
She nodded slowly, her glowing arm humming with energy. Not fully, but enough to make them fear. The hunters roared, charging forward with their weapons raised. The traveler stood beside Leora, his branch still in his hands. His eyes locked on the enemy. The forest edge erupted into chaos, beams of red light cutting through the air, sparks flying, wood cracking, and the earth shaking with every strike. But for the first time, the traveler was not only running. For the first time, he and Leora were standing together side by side, fighting back. And the hunters would learn that humans were not prey. Not tonight. The clearing was alive with fire and sound. Red beams cut across the night. Sparks rained from shattered branches, and the earth shook with every strike. The traveler swung his branch again and again, dodging blasts. While beside him, Leora fought with her glowing arm, the partial armor flashing with silver light. For a moment, it seemed they were holding their ground. The hunters stumbled back, surprised by the alien's sudden strength and the human's stubborn courage. But then the forest grew silent. The laughter stopped. The weapons lowered. A heavy sound echoed from the tree line. Slow, steady steps crushing the soil like drums of war. The traveler froze. Leora's glowing eyes widened. She whispered one word. "The leader." From the shadows, a figure emerged, taller than the others, wrapped in armor that pulsed like living fire. His body seemed fused with it, metal and flesh joined together in a single terrible form. His mask glowed brighter than all the rest, crimson lines burning across it like scars. The hunters stepped aside, lowering their heads as the leader entered the clearing. His presence was heavy, pressing against the air, making the traveler's chest tighten with fear. The leader stopped, staring at Leora with his blazing red eyes. His voice was deep, metallic and cruel. "You have run far, last daughter of Illyria." Leora stood straight, her glowing arm trembling as she lifted it, defiance in her eyes. "You will not have the armor. Not while I live." The leader laughed, a dark sound that made the earth tremble. "You think you protect it by running? You are weak. Your kind is dead. You are alone. And soon you will give me what I came for." The traveler clenched his fists, anger burning in his chest. "She's not alone." The leader turned his glowing gaze toward the human. For a moment, silence hung heavy. Then the leader laughed again, mocking. "A human. A fragile animal. Do you think your courage matters? You are prey, nothing more." The traveler stepped forward, gripping his branch tighter. "Maybe prey, but prey that fights back." The hunters hissed in anger, but the leader raised a hand and silenced them. His red gaze returned to Leora. "Tell him the truth," the leader said. "Tell your human why we want the armor. Tell him what lies hidden inside." Leora's glowing eyes flickered with sorrow. Her lips parted, but no sound came. The leader's voice grew sharper. "Her people created a weapon, a code written into the armor itself. The one who wears it does not just survive. They command. They control fleets of ships. They hold power to crush planets, to burn skies, to rule stars, and she carries the last of it." The traveler's chest tightened, his mind spinning. A weapon hidden inside the suit? He turned to Leora, his voice sharp. "Is it true?" Her silver blue eyes filled with pain. "Yes," she whispered. "The bioarmor carries codes of command. The hunters want it to control armies that sleep beyond the stars. If they succeed, Earth will not be their first prey. It will be only the beginning." The leader raised his hand, glowing with energy. "Surrender the rest of the armor, Illyrian, or your human dies first." The traveler felt his stomach twist as the leader's red gaze locked on him. Heat pressed against his skin as the hunter's weapon charged. Leora gasped, stepping forward quickly. "No, leave him. I will give myself if you spare him." Her voice cracked with desperation. She looked at the traveler, sorrow filling her glowing eyes. "Forgive me," she whispered. The traveler shook his head sharply. Don't do it. The leader laughed darkly. See how weak she is? She would give everything for one human. Pathetic. He raised his weapon higher, the red glow growing brighter, ready to strike. But the traveler did not step back. His body shook with fear, but his eyes burned with something stronger. He looked at Leora, his voice steady. Don't surrender. If you do, everyone loses. Not just you. Not just me, everyone. The leader tilted his head, almost curious at the human's defiance. Then his voice grew sharp. You are brave. But bravery will not stop death. The air grew heavy. The hunters raised their weapons, surrounding them. Leora's glow flickered, her strength fading without the full armor. The traveler tightened his grip on the branch, knowing it was almost useless. The leader stepped closer, towering above them, his voice low and cruel. This ends now. She will kneel. You will fall. And the stars will burn under my command. The clearing filled with red light as weapons charged. The ground trembled under the weight of approaching doom. The traveler's breath slowed. His mind raced. His heart burned. He knew the fight ahead was impossible. But he also knew one thing. Surrender was not an option. Not for Leora. Not for Earth. Not for humanity. The night at the forest's edge was about to decide more than one life. It would decide the fate of worlds, and the human was ready to make his stand. The clearing was glowing red with the hunter's weapons. The leader stood tall, his armored body blazing like living fire, his mask burning with cruel light. Around him the hunters closed in, their weapons humming, their laughter sharp. Leora stood weak beside the traveler, her glowing arm trembling with only part of the armor. She was not strong enough to face them. The leader raised his hand ready to strike, his voice deep and cold. Kneel, he commanded, or watch your human die. For a moment silence filled the forest. The traveler's breath slowed, his chest heavy with fear. He had nothing but a broken branch in his hands, and yet he stepped forward. His voice was steady. No, he said firmly. We don't kneel. The hunters roared with laughter. The leader tilted his head, amused. You dare to defy me? You are nothing. You are prey. The traveler's eyes burned with defiance. Prey fights back, and tonight prey wins. With sudden movement, he hurled the branch straight at the leader's mask. It cracked across the red glow, not strong enough to break the armor, but enough to surprise him. In that heartbeat, the traveler lunged forward, grabbing the fallen dirt and hurling it into the leader's glowing eyes. The leader roared in anger, blinded for a moment, his weapon firing wildly into the trees. The ground shook as red beams tore through the clearing. Now, Leora, the traveler shouted. She gasped, her glowing arm lifting, calling to the broken pieces of the bio-armor still carried by the hunters. Her silver blue eyes blazed bright, her voice sharp and powerful. The pieces trembled, then ripped free from the hunter's hands, flying across the clearing toward her. The hunters screamed in rage, trying to hold them, but the armor obeyed her call. Silver light wrapped around her chest, her legs, her shoulders. Each piece fused with her body, glowing brighter and brighter. The leader roared louder, his fury shaking the ground. No, she cannot reclaim it. The traveler darted between hunters, grabbing rocks, throwing them, striking at their knees, their weapons, anything to distract them. He knew he could not kill them, but he could confuse them, keep them unbalanced. It worked. The hunters grew angry, swinging wildly at the human who moved too quickly, too unpredictably. Leora's armor fused fully now, covering her like a second skin of light. She gasped as power surged through her, her body glowing brighter than the moon. Energy spread from her hands, cracking across the ground like lightning. The hunters stumbled back in fear. The leader stepped forward, his mask blazing red. You are still weak. Even with the armor, you cannot stop me. Leora's glowing eyes locked on him, fire blazing inside them. I am not weak. Not anymore. And I'm not alone. She looked at the traveler, who stood bruised, bleeding but unbroken. He nodded firmly, his chest rising with heavy breath. Together, they faced the leader. The final battle began. The leader charged, his massive body glowing with dark energy. Leora lifted her hands, silver light clashing with crimson fire. The air shook with the impact, sparks exploding across the clearing. The traveler darted behind the leader, grabbing a sharp rock and striking at the armor joints. It did little damage, but it forced the leader to turn, to split his attention. Over here, the traveler shouted, his voice defiant. You want me? Come get me. The leader roared in rage, swinging his glowing weapon at the human. The traveler dodged, barely missing death, his heart pounding, his body moving with raw instinct. He had no armor, no weapon, only speed and stubborn courage, and that was enough. Every second he stole gave Leora more power. Her armor blazed brighter, her voice filled with command. Energy shot from her hands, slamming into the leader's chest. He stumbled, roaring, his mask cracking with sparks. The traveler saw his chance. With all his strength, he leapt onto the leader's back, wrapping his arms around the thick armor. The leader shook violently, trying to throw him off, but the human held on tight, shouting with all his might. "Now, Leora, do it." Leora's glowing eyes blazed brighter than ever. She raised both hands, silver energy bursting from her palms. The light struck the leader full force, ripping through his armor, tearing the fusion of flesh and metal apart. The leader screamed, his voice filled with rage and pain, his glowing mask shattering into pieces. His body collapsed, the red fire fading, the ground shaking as he fell. The clearing grew silent. The hunters froze, their masks dimming. Without their leader, they had no command. Slowly, they stepped back, their weapons lowering. Then, like shadows, they vanished into the forest, fleeing into the night. The traveler stumbled, falling to his knees, his body weak, his arms heavy. But he looked up and saw Leora standing tall, her armor glowing like silver fire, her eyes soft with relief. "You did it," he whispered, his breath ragged. She shook her head gently. "We did it. You human with no armor, no weapon, no power but courage. You stood when no one else would." Her silver blue eyes glowed as she stepped closer, her voice soft. "Perhaps it is humans who will save the stars." The traveler looked at her, his lips curling into a tired smile. For the first time that night, he felt not like prey, not like a lost wanderer, but like something more. The forest grew quiet again. The moon shone down on them. And deep under the lake, unseen by both, a faint hum awakened. The sound of a hidden ship waiting to rise. The fight was over, but the story was only beginning.